The streets of Manila buzzed with life, but for 12-year-old Juan, the noise only echoed his struggles. Every morning, he woke before dawn, not to the sound of an alarm clock, but to the cries of jeepneys and vendors. His home was a small wooden shack by the railroad tracks, where his mother sold street food and his father labored long hours as a tricycle driver. Juan's world was humble, yet his dreams were anything but. Music had always been his secret refuge. He would hum quietly while carrying heavy buckets of water or whistle tunes while wiping tables in the eatery. His voice was gentle, pure, and filled with a rawness that could pierce through even the thickest silence. But no one had truly listened, until his teacher uploaded a shaky video of him singing in the school courtyard. That clip went viral, catching the eye of a local talent scout who believed Juan's voice was a miracle waiting to be discovered. Against all odds, Juan found himself boarding his very first airplane, heading toward the bright lights of America's Got Talent. As he clutched his worn-out shoes and a small rosary his mother pressed into his hand, his heart pounded. He wasn't just singing for himself, he was singing for every child who had ever been told their dreams were too big, their world too small. On that long flight, Juan whispered a prayer, not to win, not for fame, but simply for the chance to be heard, truly heard, perhaps for the very first time. When Juan stepped onto the AGT stage, the theater lights felt brighter than the Manila sun. His small frame looked almost swallowed by the massive stage, yet his eyes sparkled with a quiet determination. The judges, Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, smiled warmly, though Simon's piercing gaze seemed to weigh the heaviest. "What's your name, and where are you from?" Simon asked. Juan's accent was thick but his voice steady as he replied, "My name is Juan, I'm from Manila, Philippines." A murmur rippled through the crowd, touched by his humility. When Simon asked what he would sing, Juan took a deep breath and answered softly, "A song my mother taught me when we had nothing but hope." Then the music began, and Juan closed his eyes. The first note floated out, tender and trembling, like a prayer whispered under the stars. The audience leaned in, captivated. His voice grew stronger, carrying pain, love, and resilience, each lyric painting a picture of hardship yet unbreakable spirit. By the chorus, the crowd was on its feet, tears streaming, as if Juan's song had reached into their hearts and pulled at threads they didn't even know were there. Even the hardened Simon Cowell leaned forward, his usual stern expression softening into something rare, pure awe. Juan wasn't just performing, he was bearing his soul, offering his life story through music in a way that words could never capture. And in that moment, the boy who once sang to himself in the slums of Manila was commanding one of the biggest stages in the world. As Juan's final note soared, the theater erupted in a thunderous ovation that seemed to shake the walls. Strangers hugged, wiping tears from their faces, while others simply stood frozen, overwhelmed by the rawness of what they had just witnessed. Juan, wide-eyed and trembling, bowed politely, unsure of how to absorb the ocean of love crashing toward him. For a moment, there was silence at the judges' table. Then Sophia clutched her chest, whispering, "That was like an angel singing." Heidi added with glistening eyes, "You reminded us of the purest kind of beauty, honesty in music." Howie leaned forward, his voice catching as he said, "Juan, you gave us not just a song, but a window into your soul. That's courage beyond measure." But everyone waited for Simon. He stared at Juan, his expression unreadable. Finally, he leaned into the mic, his voice softer than usual, "I've been on this show for years, and I've heard thousands of singers. But every once in a while, someone comes along who doesn't just sing the notes, they tell a story that changes us. Juan, you just changed this room." The audience roared, stamping their feet, chanting his name, "Juan! Juan! Juan!" The boy's knees almost buckled from the weight of it all. He glanced at the golden buzzer button, unsure if he even dared hope. Then Simon smiled, a rare, tender smile, and slowly raised his hand. Time seemed to stop. Juan's heart raced. Could this really be happening? The crowd screamed louder, sensing what was about to unfold, as the moment every dreamer longs for hung in the air. Then, with one firm press, Simon slammed the golden buzzer. In an instant, shimmering confetti rained down from above, cascading like 1,000 tiny stars falling just for Juan. The theater exploded in joy, cheers, screams, and tears blending into one powerful chorus of celebration. Juan gasped, his small hands flying to his mouth, his eyes wide in disbelief. He fell to his knees as golden paper swirled around him, clinging to his clothes, his hair, his trembling fingers. For a boy who once sang to cracked walls in a Manila slum, this was a dream far beyond imagination. His mother's words echoed in his mind, "When you sing, Mijo, don't just use your voice, use your heart." And now the whole world had heard that heart. Simon walked onto the stage, something he rarely did, and bent down to speak to Juan. "Never, ever forget this moment," he said, his hand resting reassuringly on the boy's shoulder. "You've reminded all of us why we love music, and why hope matters." The cameras caught every detail, the boy with nothing who had just been given everything. Back home in Manila, neighbors gathered around tiny televisions and phones, watching their Juan shine. His mother wept openly, clutching the rosary tighter, whispering thanks to God. Children in the neighborhood pointed at the screen, shouting, "That's our Juan." For them, he wasn't just a contestant on a foreign stage, he was proof that dreams could leap across oceans and conquer the impossible. After the show, Juan was led backstage, still shaking, golden confetti stuck to his shoes. Crew members, security guards, even other contestants lined up just to hug him or pat his back. "You reminded me of my own son," one man whispered, tears in his eyes. But it wasn't the praise that mattered most to Juan, it was the thought of his parents watching from thousands of miles away. When a producer handed him a phone for a quick video call, his mother's face filled the screen, blurred by tears. "Anak, you did it," she sobbed. "All of Manila is proud of you." His father, usually stoic, wiped his eyes and said simply, "You sang for us all." For the first time in his life, Juan felt the true weight of his gift. It wasn't about fame, it was about giving hope to those who felt invisible. That night, while social media exploded with his performance, Juan sat quietly in his hotel room, still holding the rosary. He thought about the children in the streets of Manila who sang to distract themselves from hunger, about the families who prayed for miracles that never seemed to come. Maybe, he thought, his voice could be their miracle. Maybe it could open doors not just for him, but for every child who dared to dream beyond poverty. Laying his head down, he whispered another prayer, not for victory, not for wealth, but for the chance to keep shining a light for others. And with that, the poor boy from Manila drifted to sleep, unaware of how deeply he had already changed the world. In the weeks that followed, Juan's life transformed, but his heart remained the same. News outlets across America and the Philippines told his story, the boy from the slums who moved Simon Cowell to press the golden buzzer. Fans from all walks of life sent letters, some sharing their own struggles, thanking Juan for giving them hope. Donations poured in, enough to rebuild his family's home and send his siblings to school. Yet, despite the newfound fame, Juan stayed grounded. In interviews, when asked what he wanted most, he never mentioned riches or celebrity. Instead, he said softly, "I just want children like me to believe they matter." His humility touched people even more than his voice. When he returned to Manila for a short visit, the airport overflowed with neighbors, teachers, and strangers holding handmade signs, "Welcome home, Juan. Our golden boy." He sang for them, barefoot on the cracked pavement where his journey began, his voice stronger now but still carrying the same purity. In that moment, he realized something profound: the golden buzzer wasn't the real prize. The true gift was knowing that even one person's courage, one person's song, could ripple across the world and ignite hope in millions of hearts. And so, as the sun set over Manila and the children's laughter echoed through the streets, Juan smiled, finally understanding his purpose. He wasn't just singing to be heard, he was singing so others could believe in the impossible. And with every note, he proved that dreams, no matter how fragile, can rise higher than confetti and shine brighter than gold.